And welcome to our latest episode of the Dolphin Pod here on CSI Sportsnet. We are just a couple of days away from the ECC Indoor Track and Field Championship this coming weekend, and my guest today joins the show for the second time this season. It is cross-country track and field head coach Akil St. Louis. Akil, welcome back.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, always appreciate it.
You are perhaps the most eager guest we have on this show. You are always happy to come on, and you and I always have great conversations. So let's pick up right where we left off last time. The last time I spoke to you was ahead of cross-country season. You had plans for the season. How did things go in terms of the outcome during cross-country, and what are your feelings about how the team performed during the most recent season?
Cross-country was fun. I always enjoy cross-country. The men, I wish they performed a little bit better. But with that being said, Wayne, stepped up, immensely for the men's side. He PR'd on the course. It was a little bit of a disagreement whether he PR'd with that same type of metric on the track, but we'll give him that. It was a little argument.
He will take it. He will take it.
He will.
He will take it. But you can't argue with him. He's on the banner,
He's on the banner, yes. So. We went back and forth with that, but we'll give them that. And the women really stepped up big time. Liz had a huge showing at regionals. She performed well at the conference champs as well. We placed the women placed 7th. I know it's not the biggest, accomplishment, but we were ranked last. We were ranked 8th, so that was a huge deal to get to the 8th place. And you really seen the confidence and the continuity with the girls, when they accomplished that feat. So I was happy for them. Cross country was an exciting time. We went through our ups and downs as a program. A little bit of kind of getting our athletes back into engaging with our coaches and understanding why we're doing this and sitting them down with certain things, because I always view them as the modern athlete. And the modern athlete means is that, like we said earlier with social media has its positive and it has its negative caveats, because they constantly going on Instagram and looking up different workouts, different dynamic stuff, different drills. So I'm always constantly fighting with the modern athlete, that's getting information that is not probably the best for what they want to do, but I know where they should be and where they have to be at, and we collaborated and we had a very successful cross-country season, so that was good.
And it's interesting that you mentioned social media, because I say it all the time. There's a reason that I don't like to touch social media. And going back to a point you made with the workouts and perhaps some poor information there, every post, you would think, for the most part, on social media is going to be a PR. People are going to post their best times. People are going to post all of their best performances. So as an athlete, when you see that time and time again, do you think there's a bit of added pressure to match up?
Yeah, there's always added pressure. I always tell them that, you're not always going to perform right. So after our indoor meets, when we have that long winter break, one of my athletes, he came to me. He's like, "Oh, coach, I'm not going to run well. I didn't do the things I had to do." I said, "You just answered your question. That's why you're not going to. You already put in your mind you're not going to run well, so you're not going to run well." That's exactly what happened. So then after his race, I pulled him aside. I coached the mid-distance and distance guys. I told him, personally, I said, my group is not going to run well either. He's like, "Oh, why would you say that?" And I told him, I said, because I could tell they didn't do what they needed to do during that time off. So, it's not always about the positivity or it's good to look for the downs and the up within every type of program. It's okay to talk about the negative too. I tell them this all the time. It's okay to talk about the negative because it has some type of positive within it. You just got to learn to go with it, go with the ebbs and flows of it. We've been learning as a group, which is the coaches and our athletes, and we're going in the right direction, I feel like.
And I think that's a very interesting point you make, because one of the big challenges for me as a broadcaster is trying to not let the negativity that sometimes clouds my off-air personality with my on-air personality. You want to sound excited. You want to sound engaged always. And sometimes that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah,
You're having a
yeah.
bad day. You're on headset. You don't want to be there. The weather's bad, like it was last night.
Yep.
Your car is snowed in and frozen. And sometimes it's not easy to put on that headset and put on a smile and call the game. But
Yeah.
do you think your student athletes would classify you more as a positive or a negative person? What do you think?
That's a great question. I think they look at me as a person that is very transparent and open with them and is going to give them the honest truth.
A pragmatic person.
Pragmatic, yes, that's a perfect word.
That's what I call myself when I'm being negative.
Yeah. You have to be pragmatic, especially with coaching, and especially nowadays with the athletes. So I try to be, a little bit of transparency, a little bit of positivity, a little bit of negativity, and how we're going to work and get all those aspects together to have a fruitful and wonderful and positive season when it's all said and done with. And that's what we kind of look forward to, and growing in a positive direction. Yeah, it's going to have some negatives, but eventually it's going to be, something positive at the end of the rainbow. Yeah.
And there was a development for you as well since our last conversation, and I don't often need my notes. I'm going to try and go without them here.
All right.
The United States Track and Field and Cross Country Coaches Association,
Yep.
USTF CCCA. You are the ECC representative on that committee. Thank you for that. I think it was well-deserved in this rare instance, but you are the ECC representative on that committee.
Yeah.
What do they do, and what is your role in that position?
So my role was to be kind of the point person as far as getting things done for track and field, for cross country and track and field. The big thing there, the big motto there was track and field is a dying sport. That's what they kept telling our coaches. Kept telling me, or Division II coaches, Division I, Division III, Division NAIA, all that stuff. They were all there. I guess universities and clubs, not clubs, but the universities and colleges are mostly want the clubs to kind of take over, I guess, the lower tier sports like track and field, like swim. They want to replace those sports with other club sports. And that means flag football. Flag football is big. They talked about pickleball. They talked about other things as well. So basically, my role at that time was being the advocate for our division, in our east region. So there was different things that came up, and it was a good experience for me, first and foremost, to be out there. A good friend of mine, Joe Lasik, he coaches at Limestone State from Staten Island, went to Patrides. His program is actually ranked 10th they're ranked 7th in the country. Their Division II program as well. He reached out to me. He wanted me to be an advocate for our program, and that's what I did. I did there was a couple of things that came up. One was any athlete that was at a division, the JUCO level, to get advocate and get them more years. The other thing was to take away a program from qualifying for cross-country nationals. So instead of having 3, you had 2. I was against that. They voted to take away that third team. Those are the things that we talked about. Just try to make our sport more visible within the public, getting more fans. But when you take away that kind of like that third team, it takes away like that Cinderella aspect, like the kind of like, for example, like March Madness. March Madness has 68 teams, but before it was like I think 64 teams. So by adding another 4 programs, now you have that Cinderella aspect. And that was my argument with that, is that, you add a third team, then it has that Cinderella aspect for cross country, just on a broader scale. And by taking that away, it kind of like takes away that feeling of a competition level. So it was more about just advocating. That's track and field. As coaches, we always advocate for our programs, advocate for our schools, advocate for our student athletes and assistant coaches as well. Yeah.
And everybody likes a good underdog story, and we mentioned it on the last show. We'll mention it again. Bulletin board material on the door of your office, the
Always
ECC
there.
preseason poll, always there.
Yep.
How proud were you when those USTF CCCA rankings came out?
It was great to see that. I was very emotional. That's why I got the playoff beard rocking.
Oh, very nice.
After the 16th is getting cut.
It is a bit longer than the last time I saw you.
It's way too long.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like my good luck charm. But I was very excited for our program. I was very excited for our student athletes. They've come a long, long way. Yesterday I was scrolling through. Now we're talking about social media. I was scrolling through the Instagram.
What are you doing there?
And I was just looking at all the old posts that was posted prior, and there was a couple of athletes that are still here, and I just looked at their faces and I could tell they just weren't excited and they needed a jump start. So to see Sky and Ava, that was and Angie, and Jamel, that was part of the old regime. And to see them now, how excited they are, and how, they're just overwhelmed with excitement to go and compete. And one of the athletes, I forgot who it was, but they pulled me aside and said, "Coach, like, it feels good to have athletes that want to compete and want to do well." And I feel like we have a group to compete and want to do well. So that's a good feeling. And that's what made me emotional. That a lot of blood, sweat, and tears was brought into it, and it feels good to have the whole group come together and want to be a part of something great, and that's always a good feeling.
I was about to say, speaking of Sky and Ava, whoever made that graphic for the Crimson Open did a great job. Marquise does great work, but that particular graphic, I don't know. I had a bit of partiality toward that one.
I know exactly who that is.
Yours truly.
I appreciate it.
I had to give myself a shout out, but something that you and I spoke about last season, or I should say, well, we did speak last season ahead of the championship as well, but we spoke about it earlier this year ahead of cross country as well. Recruiting, preparation, and most of all, patience. You're really beginning to see that pay off now. What's the biggest difference from year one to year two?
Oh man, year one was year one was an exciting time, but it was also very, very rushed. I wasn't hired until August 23rd, which is actually I guess one of my idols, Kobe Bryant's birthday, which is funny. I was hired that day, so I will never forget that day actually. So throughout that year was it was crazy. I had to go out through our campus and try to get kids that were running prior, like Vincent or VI. That's what he likes to be called. So I apologize, VI. So I had to go pull in VI. I had to go get Precious back. I had to go get Innie back. So it was a lot of trying to, and Ava and Skylar. So I was trying to get them back. So once we had like a foundation, a core group back, then we had to bring in those student athletes students who weren't really track and field athletes, who ran probably in middle school, high school, but we needed to have some type of program because the optics of it looked good. So our first meet, I remember one of the coaches, high school coaches, he came up to me, he's like, "Coach, how did you do this?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "How do you go from," I remember last year they had 8 or 9 kids. Now you have 34. And I said, it was just a lot of recruiting. But how did you get those kids, to be a part of the program? And I told him, I said, I was just communicating with people outside of the building 1R. I was going outside and talking to student activities, talking to this person, trying to get, athletes, or people who weren't athletes. That's what I was doing. Former athletes who played basketball, who played baseball, soccer, anything they did prior, they felt like they couldn't make the team, on our programs now as a walk-on. They wanted to be a part of the team, and that's what I did. I, as a person who was a big, I guess, into sports, I always look at just overall athletes, and that's not only track and field. I always look for athletes who do different things outside of the scope of track and field. So even on our program now, we have former baseball players like Nick Bradley, Angie's former softball player, Mary Lee, former basketball player. They were all elite athletes, but they're great track and field athletes as well. So, I did the same type of thing that we did with year one. Year two was similar to it, but these are kids that had the I guess the experience with running track and field, but we're also doing other things as well. So and it's been working out, for us as a program.
And during our conversation previously, you mentioned a lesson that you learned as an assistant coach as
Yep.
some of your sprinters started to have some nagging injuries popping up, and
Oh, man.
you realized that you had to ease off a bit. How have you managed now to strike that balance between pushing for improvement and not pushing too hard?
Oh man,
They're doing pretty well this season.
the sprinters are doing very well. That was one of the things that I took the Simon Hodnett, I guess, DNA into CSI. So Simon Hodnett was a head coach at LIU. He's passed away of cancer last year. He was someone I looked up to as a coach. I kind of took his moniker of Coach Simon and put my own spin to it and made it Coach Akil. So that kind of made me be more relatable to our student athletes. So we had the whole purpose of this year recruiting cycle was to bring in sprinters, a big group of sprinters. The sprinters are a little bit, and jumpers, they're a little bit more easier to recruit outside of the norms of the throwers and the distance runners. So once I brought in that group, I wanted to make sure that they meshed and they fit well, and they did. And that's why the sprint group is kind of having a really good season. This year's class, which is the 2025 class, was a really exciting and probably, in my opinion, the most talented class that I've seen in a while, as far as with track and field is concerned. This year, I've been more focused on recruiting throwers, more focused on recruiting mid-distance and distance guys, and not mostly sprinters, like one or two sprinters, because I don't want to mess up the continuity of our sprint group. I want to bring in a fresh new group when we already have a group. It doesn't make sense. So it's important to kind of bring in, maybe like two sprinters to, take over the two sprinters that are leaving, which is going to be tough to replace, but we're going to try to do our best. So that's kind of been our focus on for this year.
And speaking of continuity and improvement, in the past, we've had Athletes of the Week. This week, we had another, and he is a three-time repeating Athlete of the Week in Ibrahima Diallo. Yeah. We've also had program records go down in the past. Those have fallen quite a bit faster this year. And then you have new faces that have contributed and are starting to form a foundation that may push you further toward that ultimate goal of a championship. How do you account for the exponential growth of this program in such a short time?
I give a lot of respect and I guess love to our assistant coaches. Coach Renee Enriquez, she's amazing. She works very well with our throwers. Coach Earl Wisdom, I've known him for over 20 years. Really good guy. He helps with our he coaches our sprint group. Coach Goose, that's what he wants to be called. Coach Joe Genovese, he's a Farrell guy. He was a great hurdler and jumper at St. Francis College. He's also a nurse, so he comes in and he assists with that group. And then Coach Ryan Tierney, I always call him the doctor. He's in our PT program here at the college, a former athlete last year. Kind of groomed him to be our coach for this year. I always call him the Bill Russell of. Last year I was calling him the Bill Russell of our team because he was like that player coach like Bill Russell was with the Celtics, that we had and kind of groomed our program. Now he's kind of took over the helm with the girls and on the mid distance and distance side. So that group of coaches are amazing, and it's great that it's funny that a lot of coaches that want to coach are now reaching out and want to be a part of our program. I'm kind of like, nope. We have a good foundation. We have a good, a tree. And I don't want to add any leaves to that just yet. I just want to keep growing that branch and keep doing the right thing for our student athletes and our coaches.
And obviously yourself and the coaching staff have been a big reason why the program has grown since your arrival. But you're planning a ceremony during halftime of one of our upcoming basketball games to recognize the seniors. Talk about what some of them have meant to this program.
Oh man, they've been amazing, especially on the women's side with our throwers. They've been through a lot. I don't know what occurred after Coach Gangemi left. Just to be transparent and honest, but probably our viewers don't know this, or other coaches don't know this, but Ava, Skylar, and Vi never got their medals from whatever conference meet it was, whether it be indoor or outdoor. I'm not sure what happened, but they were never awarded their medals. So the first thing I did was, when I found out that information, I reached out to the powers that be and got their medals. So we had like a whole presentation for them, in the student lounge, and I bought them flowers, and just giving them their respects and the affirmation that they needed at that time. So that was good. So we have 8 seniors this year. Alex Jackson, she was on the cusp of transferring before I came. She was on her way to Chafflin in South Carolina, and before she signed that paper to go out there, she came back. So that means the world to me. I recruited her when she was in the 12th grade. I met her in Jersey City. She runs for Harlem Children's Home with Coach B. Coach B is a great advocate, great person to be around. Angie, another individual who helped me very much so my first year, was always around. Made sure that everybody was medically and academically eligible to compete. She still is my point person. Jamel is another senior who kind of got new to track and field. When I came around, he was like, I remember he pulled me aside. He's like, "Coach, this is a lot for me. I don't know what this is. This is not what I wanted at the beginning," because the year before I came, it felt like a club, and I made it to feel like more of a Division II program. And he's got into it and taken more of the thrower side more seriously. So we have 8 graduating seniors. Tasia, I got to mention them. She's great, cheerleader. She always comes in the office and is always giving me the affirmation and positivity that I need sometimes, because when you're around the athletes so much, they start be on your same vibration. So sometimes she'll come up to me. She's like, "Oh, Coach, are you all right? Is everything okay?" Her thing is always be blessed and highly favored. That's what she always says. So a little shout out to Tasia. And Innie's been kind of the queen of the sprints. Great sprinter at Portland. Was a cheerleader here for about 4 years. Last year, she did cheer, and then also she did track and was doing both at the same time. She's in the top heat on Sunday. So we have a good core group of seniors that are leaving. So it's going to be hard to replace them, and I'm going to miss them very much. So it's important to give them their recognition and to give them their flowers while they're here, to make them feel like you were part of something great. And I think that's important for us as a group, and for us as a athletic department, and in total.
Well, I'm looking forward to the chance to recognize those seniors on March 1st, and it's a privilege of mine that I get to author those speeches and help you do that. But Akil's seniors are not the only seniors who are going to be recognized at halftime of one of our games on March 1st. CSI Cheer will also recognize their seniors during that game. And earlier this season, our CSI Sportsnet colleague Nick Durst got a chance to catch up with CSI Cheer. We'll throw it over to Nick's conversations with them now. And when we come back, my conversation with cross-country track and field head coach Akil St. Louis continues right here on the Dolphin Pod.
Nick Durst here with Gabby from the cheerleading team. And Gabby, senior year already. Yeah. Can you believe it? What's it been like being a cheerleader here for CSI?
It's definitely been a different experience being on this type of team. I was always into like sports, like track.
It's like football, right?
Yeah, flag football. But now I'm on the cheer team. It's very different, but I really enjoy the team. They're really warm and welcome.
And what's your favorite part about being on this team?
I think I like the games. I get so hyped for the game. Right? I love the games. I'm so hyped. I scream for them because the plays. I
could hear it in her voice.
Yeah,
we just got used to the
gone.
game. It's gone.
Yeah.
All right, well, Gabby, thank you for your time and
Thank
best of luck the
you.
rest of the
Thank
season.
you.
Nick Durst here with Olivia from the cheerleading team. And Olivia, the season is well underway for you girls. What is your favorite part of the season?
Well, I just really love being able to support the men's and women's basketball teams at every home games. It's so much fun being a part of the athletic community here and being head of the Spirit teams.
All right, and talk to us about your great coaches that don't get enough recognition.
Oh, we have the best coaches. They are so supportive of everything we do. They're always striving to make us better and for us to accomplish more every year.
All right, and talk to me about your personal game day routine. What are you doing when you're getting here, getting hyped, getting yourself ready to go? And post game, how do you come down from the high of performing in front of the live crowd?
Well, a good meal is really important before. Obviously, we do a lot of jumping. We're on our feet for 3 hours straight. Days like this, we have 2 games straight. So it's really important to make sure that you're hydrating, you're eating. And then after games, I really just take a nice hot shower, let my muscles relax.
It gets cold in here.
It gets really cold in here sometimes. And it's really harsh going from the jumping and all of that just to the cold weather. So a nice hot shower really helps.
All right, well, Olivia, thank you for your time and best of luck the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Nick Durst here with the cheerleading coach.
Hi.
Of course, here she is. So, Coach, how's it been coaching the team? You went right from the playing field into coaching the team a year later, and now you're well into your regime here.
It's honestly been a great experience. I love coaching. I've always wanted to coach. I didn't expect to be doing it so soon, but I'm really, really thrilled that I am. I couldn't ask for a better team. They just jump in and they do whatever they need to do, and they get things done.
So how has it been, you're a teacher, so you teach young kids, and then you're teaching your team here. So do the skills transfer over?
Yeah, so I say this all the time, and my girls will tell you, and Trey will tell you, I see the parallels between teaching and coaching all the time, and it's very similar. You got to plan accordingly. You have to know your athletes as well as your students and figure everything out,
All right, so Coach, what's the goal here for the team moving forward?
So this season, we're really working on skills and building, and next year, we're really hoping to get to UCA Nationals in January, which is a big goal. We've been wanting to do it. COVID kind of cut our time, but
all right, it's going to happen. If anyone wants to support the team and make that happen, how could they go about doing so?
Just coming to games, being supportive of us, and we're doing a lot of events, so hopefully we get a good amount of people showing up to these events.
All right, and as we're recording this, it's a big day for the program, the Alumni Day, right? So talk to us about that.
So I've been wanting to do an Alumni Day for quite a while, and I'm really excited now. We have a bunch of our old coaches coming to see us and a bunch of old alumni. Alumni are the backbone of the program, so we need them involved if we want to do big things.
All right, Coach, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Best of luck the rest of the season.
And thank you to Nick and to CSI Cheer for taking the time to contribute to this episode of the Dolphin Pod. Once again, my name is Joe Foreman. I'm back here with CSI Cross Country Track and Field head coach Akil St. Louis. And Akil, this past weekend, the team was in Boston for the Crimson Open. A lot of events stacked with Division I athletes and big fields. That did not deter your team. A lot of high placements. There was also the Gotham Cup this weekend more locally. How do you decide what meet makes it onto the schedule, and why the Crimson Open this past weekend?
The Crimson Open was just more about us just fine-tuning things, having fun, being on the coach bus, getting to know each other, having conversation, talking to one another. We wanted to do well on the track, on the circle, on the runway, but it was more about just us being a team, and then going into conference having that positive mentality going into it. We had a good time. We left at 4:30 in the morning. We got back in the middle of a blizzard at 9:30. Wasn't too bad. It took 3 hours to get there, 3 hours to get back. They seemed like they had fun, and that was the most important thing to me. It was not all about the accolades. It was more about them just having fun and being part of a team. We never, as a program, I don't think we ever went that far to another state. I know we traveled to Rochester, which is further out than Boston, but we never went to that type of atmosphere with, especially Boston. Boston is like big into track and field and big into distance running. So to be a part of that and be around that, felt really good. So hopefully that's a nice segue to get us to BU, which is a bigger meet. So it was kind of like a soft introduction to Boston and to the competition that we're not used to. And then for next year we go to BU, or we'll go to the New Balance track and field facility, which are probably the best track and field facility I've been to in this country. So we're getting there slowly. So I didn't want to go to a big track meet like BU just yet. I just wanted to slowly introduce ourselves to that type of atmosphere, which is highly competitive like a BU. So it was good.
And I've been lucky enough to be on a few of those bus trips over the years, and I can speak to the camaraderie that's built during those trips. I've not been on one of your bus trips yet. We'll have to change that in the near future. If New Balance is as great as you say it is, maybe I'll wait for that one and
it's amazing.
Take that trip with you. And I know you're a big basketball fan. We'll have to see. Maybe the team gets to go to a game down there if we have enough basketball fans on the roster as well.
Go to Celtic and Nick game.
That'd be too good.
On our van drives.
That's not the budget.
Not yet.
On
our van drives to Ocean Breeze, which we go there a lot. That was the other thing. I just wanted to get out of Ocean Breeze. We've been there since early December. We started going there. We go there 2 days a week at 8 p.m. to 10, which is kind of a lot. It's brutal, to be honest with you, but we got to get the job done. So anytime we're driving, we're always going back and forth, and myself included, about who's a better team, who's a better player in the NBA. So it's good to talk about other sports outside of the sport of track and field. I go back and forth with, Nick and Bradley, and we have Nick and I and Bradley, we have a whole group chat. We talk about baseball all the time. Nick is always ragging me about Soto going to the Mets, which I didn't like. I was upset about that, but it is what it is.
We knew it was coming.
I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
I just didn't tell him, but I knew it was coming. Mm-hmm. So it was good to just talk about other things outside of track, because you'll get to see them, really, really get to compete, when it's time to perform. They're not always thinking about track, because track could be long, it's mundane, it's sometimes it could be boring, just to be honest. But I love it. But it has those aspects of the sport that it's good to talk about other things outside of track and field.
ECC Championship on Sunday. How are you feeling? How's the team feeling heading into that meet this weekend?
Oh man, I don't know how to explain that. That's a great question. I feel like I'm on the same wavelength and vibration as a team. Last year's team, I felt like I didn't have that feeling. And no disrespect to them, but this year's team, I feel like I have that feeling where you don't see them come around the office as much. You don't see them, maybe one or two of them will come by, but you don't see like a whole group of them come, because they're so focused on other things. They're so focused on being in the athletic trainer room, being in the turf room, being in the weight room, doing extra things. That's a great feeling. And I love to be around them. They're giving me the competitive juices back that I was yearning for, especially last year. Last year we had a good group, but this year's group is very, very competitive. They're very humble. They're very respectful. I saw a change in them after our second indoor meet. I think it was the first one to St. John's. The second week was at Ocean Breeze. I forgot the name of the meet. I think it was a Wagner. Yeah, it was a Wagner invite. I was getting them excited for the 4x2. A lot of chattering was going on with Wagner. Our guys really were mature and responsible and didn't chirp back, which I really respected out of them. I told them, just do what you got to do on the track, and they came out and they beat Wagner. And I was excited for them. That really put us on the map as far as track and field is concerned. And everybody, literally the throwers, the jumpers, the distance guys, the sprinters, everybody was around to watch that. And that was amazing. I loved every single part of that. And then that feeling of competitiveness and drive and team and camaraderie really got everybody to go on the right page and move forward as a group, and that's why we're competitive. Is that little 1 minute and 29 second 4x2 really upticked our program.
And those are the kind of stories we miss in the recap. Obviously, there's no way for us to pick that up, so it's great that we get the chance to hear some of those stories on a show like this. But heading into the championship, is it as straightforward as saying you hope to see everyone peak instead of PR this weekend, or is there much more to it than that rather than just peaking at the end of the season?
The whole goal is to get them to peak and run PRs, but the schedule is tough, so you have to be realistic. We just want them to compete, score, medal, or place. We may not get a lot of PRs this year. This meet. We may not get a lot of school records this meet. But the goal is to run at your max and to compete and to run at more than effort pace, whether it be in the sprints, whether it be in the runs, whether it be in the throwing area. We want everybody to place, to have fun, and to rock out. This is what it is. We may not get PRs, which is fine, but the whole goal is, and I spoke to my coaches about this, is to kind of, start tapering off, whether it be in the throwing area, whether it be in the sprints, whether it be the jumps, or whether it be myself in the mid-distance side. It's to kind of like taper off. So that's why you don't see them a lot in the weight room or the turf room. It's important that you want them to peak at a certain point. So everything is kind of like made in groups and a pyramid to get them to get where we want them to get to. So we train at a high level at a certain point, then we kind of taper off a little bit, and then we pick it up a little bit, and then we start tapering off. And that's what you have to do that in our sport, and that's how you're going to get the results out of it.
And you told me that when you were hired, your goal was championship within 3 years.
Yes.
We're in year 2 now.
I remember that.
How close are we?
Oh, we're close.
That's what I like to hear.
We're very close. I have an idea, and I have kind of an idea of where we're going as a program, and I think it's gonna work out. Brian Gadara, our associate AD, and Matt Scally, our athletic AD, who was also my compliance. He was also my compliance director. You probably won't want to hear that because I know you hated compliance. But
I heard he's a big compliance guy, though. That's the word.
He was a huge compliance person. He was my compliance director at LIU for 4 years. They're on board with it. Especially Matt. Matt knows track and field. He knows track and field because of Simon and Julius Sandiford, who was at LIU. So he understands. He's looking and understands what I'm doing. So it feels good to have him around and seeing the framework and us building towards eventual title, and which is always the goal and standard for any head coach, any sport.
And there's no question, your program's on an upward trajectory right now.
Yep.
How do you keep that going for the rest of this season and beyond?
Just having fun. Like I told my recruits, especially the recruits of this year, we're a group that we're family oriented. I treat them as my kids. I love each and every one of them. I put a lot of love and caring and care with them. They're a good group of kids, of student athletes, of young adults. I got to stop saying kids because they are all young adults. But they
at our age now, to us, they're becoming kids more and more every year.
I know. Yeah, but they're a good group. Like I said, I treat them like a family. I want the best for them, and I think they want the best for me, and want the best for our coaches. And you're seeing it live and in the flesh. And it's always good to have other sports come by and see us doing doing what we're doing. Like the softball team has come to a meet, which I really appreciate. Some of the girls on the basketball team has come. When Matt Scally was hired, his first week of working, he came to our meet. That felt good. Sal, shout out to Sal. Sal, we had a fundraiser, and we did like a raffle, and then it was about 40 or 50 people that names are in the can, and you had the girls go around and all the out of all the names, it was Sal's name, and then Sal donated the money back into the program, so that meant a lot. So obviously you got TJ Tibbs there. He's at our meets screaming, which we love,
and stomping. His signature is the stomp.
Yes, and the stomp,
the sideline stomp.
So that's always good, to have the Staten Island community just around us. High school coaches have reached out to me and said that we're doing a good job, and I told one of the coaches, I said we're trying to represent Staten Island. That's always the goal at the end of the day. We have Staten Island etched across our jerseys, and you just have to represent our community well, and that's what we do. Most of the volunteering and pulling in some of the CYO programs I want to practice at our track. That means the world to me, and that's a great feeling to have.
Akil, you know the deal. You've been on the show more than once already. The camera's right there.
Shout out.
Tell everyone watching and listening why they need to make sure that they get out to Ocean Breeze on Sunday, or why they need to tune into the meet on the ECC network.
Oh, it's going to be fun. I'm ready, and I know our athletes are ready. So, I know track meets could be long, and I get it. I spend a lot of my time at track meets, sometimes 10, sometimes 12, sometimes 14 hours. But this meet on Sunday is meaningful. It's meaningful to our student athletes. It's meaningful to our coaches. It's meaningful to our community that you're out there. It's from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. at Ocean Breeze. So Father Capodanno is about 14 to 15 minutes away from here. Our athletes are ready to roll. I feel like there's multiple events where we could come top 3. I'm not going to say where exactly we could come top 3, where exactly we're going to be placed. That's a little cliffhanger, but I think we're ready, and it's going to be exciting. So it'll be great to have our community out there. I know there's a few staff that have reached out to me or see me when I'm walking around campus, have pulled me aside and is like, "Oh, when is your next meet?" This is the meet to come to. Just come, support, and give us the love, the affection and the affirmation that our athletes need and want. It's fun, and it's fun to have people around that want to support and love our program. So I would really appreciate it, and our student athletes would appreciate it if you come February 16th, Sunday, from 4 to 9 p.m. at Ocean Breeze.
Be there on Sunday afternoon into the evening. The ECC Indoor Track and Field Championship at the Ocean Breeze Track and Field Complex on Staten Island. Akil, as always, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
My name is Joe Foreman, and this has been our latest episode of the Dolphin Pod. For new episodes of the show, visit csidolphins.com/podcasts or visit the CSI Sportsnet YouTube channel. You can also download MP3 versions of the episode from our website or check it out on all of the major podcast hosting platforms. Catch the Track and Field Championship in person at Ocean Breeze or tune in via the ECC network on Sunday, February 16th at 4 p.m. And thanks for watching.